coming back yet again.
Yes, thank you for having me again.
Right, we've come a long way really with just trying to explain what alcoholism is, how we can help persons close to us recover from alcoholism. But this one today is quite interesting, and we all know what a disability is and what it is not. So why should alcoholism be declared a national disability? Disability. Yeah.
Okay, I am also the national coordinator of the National Alcohol Awareness Month, which we started in 2004. And the current theme is time to declare alcoholism a disability today.
Okay.
Now, as you said, big choice of words, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have even had some of my friends who actually have various disabilities have called me and talked to me in not so polite words. That why am I making light of a very serious issue?
Yes.
And then again, as we've also discussed on this program previously, a lot of people, a big majority of people don't even accept alcoholism as a disease in the first place. Then here we are coming to say it's a disability. Now, when we say, for example, if right now you disable my microphone, the cameras are still on, somebody will see me talking, but they will not hear me speak because my voice is being recorded by something else. So once the microphone, once you disable that, my voice effectively, as far as this program is concerned, is disabled. So what is disability? If we just break it down into two, disabled, disconnected, not able to whatever. Now, when you look at an alcoholic, this is I constantly say, and I hear when I'm talking to patients, their significant others, a spouse, a parent, or whatever, says, David, let me just use my example. David is very bright, but the problem when he drinks, he doesn't go to class, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this. But when he's sober, when he's not drinking, he's a totally different person.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been saying alcoholics are two people. The drinking person, which is David B in my case, and the original person. Now, when an alcoholic has crossed into alcoholism, into the addiction, it affects my ability to have relationships, disabled. My ability to work, disabled. My ability to think is disabled except when I'm thinking how to get the alcohol, how to stay drinking, and when I recover from the drinking, to again, how do I get money? And that is my cycle. But other thinking is disabled. And when you look at things like drink driving or other accidents which come about because of you are drunk, where you now actually get now other disabilities like you're paralyzed or you're blind, you drank bad alcohol or whatever, and so on. So I actually feel it is the mother of all disabilities because an alcoholic cannot do anything except drink.
Right, and one would argue that a human being is not born that way.
Yes.
It's I'd say a habit that they pick quite along the way, contrary to perhaps some of the disabilities that people live with, which they have been born with.
Yes.
And so for those that would think that, how would you argue it out with them? Because some will say, no, these people are not born that way. This is a habit that they pick along the way.
Yes.
Right.
Again, I like the way you're using the word habit. Habit is like picking my nose in public or scratching myself inappropriately in public, as opposed to an addiction.
Yeah.
It starts as a habit, the drinking, for example, or any other drug use. I'm using alcohol, I'm using heroin. But then it crosses. Meanwhile, there are there's a huge amount of disabilities which people are not born with. It's either through illness, accidents, and so on and so forth. The current senator who has been pushing...
Crystal Asige?
Pardon?
Crystal Asige?
Yes, Crystal.
Yeah.
Was not born blind, for example. It came a bit later. So again, where people would say, yes, I know people say that, but you are just drinking stupidly, if I may use that word. And all you have to do is start drinking properly, or start drinking responsibly, which is a whole different story, drinking responsibly. And so why would you say that because of your stupid drinking, quote unquote, you want to be declared disabled? Why are you making a mockery of disability?
Right.
But you see, alcoholism is not a choice. And you're actually born with it. So if that was also a criteria, you are born with alcoholism. So those many years ago in London, where I was born, a story of another time, when the doctor slapped my behind to make me cry and confirm that I'm alive, there to my parents was born an alcoholic. Now, yes, and I see the way you're looking at me.
Yeah, I'm trying to I'm trying to just look at the logic of that, because
Yes.
you know, I would rarely see a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old drink.
Yes.
It's a behavior they
Yes.
pick in
Yes.
their I'd say formative years of perhaps a teenage years.
Yes.
And so between somebody who's just an infant to, I'd say, a 10-year-old,
Yes.
I mean, how are they born with it?
So 10 to 15%, we've discussed this before on this program, of any given population is alcoholic, are born alcoholic. In other words, they have a gene
Okay.
which once they start drinking and they drink long enough, they will trigger the disease they were born with.
Is it a hereditary? Is it from the families?
So yes, so it runs in families. And that's why we say before you start drinking as a young person, if you make that choice to start drinking alcoholic beverages, before you do,
Yeah.
look at your family on both sides.
Right.
Your mother's side and your father's side. If there is a history of alcoholism or other drug addiction,
Yeah.
don't start. Because probably, there's a very high probability you have that gene. So that is why we say drunkenness. If you call me a drunkard, I will be upset.
Yeah.
Because drunkenness is a behavior. Alcoholism is a disease. The drunkard can stop anytime. The drunkard is in control.
Yeah, the alcoholic is not.
The alcoholic is not. But the symptoms are almost identical. If you see me and you see a drunkard, the way we are behaving after consuming, it would be very hard to tell who is who.
Right. And with that same line of thought, you know, with persons that live with disabilities, it's almost permanent.
Yes.
And so would you say it's the same as well for alcoholics, that it could be a permanent situation that they find themselves in, that up to their last date, that is how they will be?
Yes, because once you trigger that disease,
Yeah.
and that's why, and alcoholic is a chronic disease, so there's no cure. We manage it a day at a time. So once you trigger your disease, like now you cross over, I've crossed over into basically the land of I've lost control.
Right.
So the only solution is to stop drinking. And that's why, as you introduced me, recovering alcoholic. But I am no different from the fellow who was sitting in the Changaden or the bar at 6 o'clock this morning. He's alcoholic, I'm alcoholic. The only difference is my prefix is recovering alcoholic, and his prefix is active or wet alcoholic. So I can never go back to safe drinking again. I can drink, but I can never, my brakes are gone. So there is no cure. And that is why, and so the only way out is to stop drinking, and that's why I am with this for life. Okay?
Right.
So when we are talking about the disability, for example, somebody gets a wheelchair, somebody learns Braille if they can't, if they're blind, their sight is impaired, and so on. So with an alcoholic, the disability would apply to recovering alcoholics. When it comes to now, places like the workplace, etc., where you say already you are not supposed to discriminate in the workplace if somebody has a disease.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, alcoholics are fired. Okay? Right now, for the last few years, we've been putting policies for the workplace, for schools, etc. So if you have a child in a school, etc., who's alcoholic or using other drugs, there's supposed to be a program for them. I was at Multimedia University about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the dean confessed that currently any student brought in front of him for drug use or possession or etc. is being expelled, and they are currently trying to rework that so that any student who is having an issue with alcohol or other drugs is assisted into treatment, into sobriety, so that they can continue with their studies and conversely with their life. So you find even now with alcoholism as a disease, there's already an issue in the workplace, even though for several years policies are being put in place. But the mindset is still the same, that this is just somebody drinking. So 3 warnings and bye-bye. Some of the programs being put in place also do not understand how to treat alcoholics. So it's the counseling, but it's not an addiction counselor. So the reasoning with the alcoholic, that don't you see your wife or your spouse comes to collect your salary, and I'm talking about when I was drinking. You are always, getting warning letters. You are absconding from duty without leave, and all these other things. You mess up on the job. You are drunk when you were supposed to. For example, if you are here, imagine, Cynthia, and you're the host, and you walk in drunk. How would that go? So instead of seeing the correct way to handle your case and get into treatment, and then you come back on the show, you are fired. Now, when we are coming to disability, this is where the problem is, because my take is that alcoholism is the mother. It should not only be declared as a disability, but should be seen as the mother of all disabilities, because you cannot function as a human being. You cannot function. So this should this should then be applied to those who are in a program. Because when you are active drinking, you until you get into a program of recovery, you will not be able to listen to anything. Already where you are working, there's rules and regulations which you are not following due to your disease. So I feel it's actually the mother of all disabilities.
Right, going by that, and I'm trying to see what would it take for an institution, a company, or a school to be able to implement those kind of programs that will be able to rehabilitate alcoholics, because what we are struggling with right now, even as a nation, is that those persons who are living with disabilities, PLWDs, they're still also fighting to be included on the table for discussions. So what will it take as well to incorporate those kind of programs in various institutions, organizations, companies, schools, you name it?
We need to look at alcoholism totally different. And I'm using alcoholism and alcohol, not other drugs, because it is legal. You see? If we were talking about heroin, cocaine, all these narcotics and so on, which you are also an addict, the programs also cover that. But alcoholism, since it is legal, So there are people who drink safely. Actually, the majority of adults who consume alcohol do so safely. So alcohol is forget about even alcoholism. Alcohol itself is a very emotive subject. So one, we need to understand what alcoholism is. And as I've said constantly, if you sit 10 of us here, so-called experts, and ask what is alcoholism, you will get 10 different replies. If you put 100 of us experts, you will get 100 different replies.
Yes.
So some people say you have some trauma and you're using alcohol to deal with. Yes, there are times anybody can use alcohol or any other drug, including prescription drugs, to deal with trauma. Somebody's died, you went through an ordeal, rape, whatever, to deal with it. But then after you've processed, you go back to normal. So what we need to do is first understand, because if you look at schools, the home, the workplace, this is basically where somebody is at all the time. Everybody tries to help. Employers, and this was the problem, like even when I was working, people would complain that this guy keeps getting off with murder. And ask me, I do a small thing, I'm getting a warning letter. I do another, I'm getting my second, I'm being sacked. This guy should have been sacked 5 years ago. He's still here because the employer, the spouse is not leaving. Everybody's telling the spouse, whether it's the wife or the husband.
Right.
Okay? The kids, abandon these people. But people, they're trying to help because they know David A. Okay? So they're wondering, this David B, what is the problem? And that's why when people are coming with sideshows, childhood trauma, what, etc., the spouse cooks badly, or the boss is harsh, or whatever, the situation in Palestine, and all others, what I call flavor of the week, then you are avoiding looking at the cause because of the stigma is so high, nobody wants to accept. Now, when they find, whether it's an employer, family, or school environment, they find the solution is this, which means understanding what alcoholism is. They are the first people who will then, because already they're trying to help. It's just that they don't know what they're dealing with. And it has been found. We did a program, we did the policy for Office of the President at that time. And the policy and the employee assistance program. And this is a huge staff of over 50,000 scattered all over Kenya, including people who use guns and so on and so forth. And it has been found whether you have a staff of 5 or 50,000 or more, whatever costs you use to implement these programs, include like when we were putting up the policy, things, for example, came up, who pays? Is the fellow's salary deducted? Does the institution pay? etc., or does the family pay, and so on and so forth. All these, so different programs come, some will say your salary is attached, some will say the institution will pay. But what we were trying to say, when the institution pays, you recover that money, no matter how many staff you have, in less than a year. And then from there, it is profit, because when I say institution, whether it is the family, whether it is a work situation, whether a business or government, whatever, or the school situation, you are using a lot of money. For example, I'm causing messes at work, which have to be sorted out. That time, usually by my parents. Or when I'm in the house, for example, when I was in India, I've done messes which have to be sorted out diplomatically, so my parents have to send money to the embassy to go and sort out that mess, so I'm not taken to jail. So an addict actually is worse than, for example, even somebody who's not working. Because an alcoholic does not produce, but sucks up everything people are producing
Around
is sucked
him
up.
or her.
Yes, I remember when I left rehab, my late dad's birthday, he used to have his birthday every year, my siblings would come from the US. And I remember at one of them, just after I left rehab, I was in charge of the bar, the drinks. I said, David, I think now you're sober. And later on in the family meeting, when guests had left, I actually told my parents that when you pass, me, I only want your library because my inheritance, I've already spent it. So if you go back to the story of the prodigal son, you see, an alcoholic is a typical prodigal son. By the time you are sober, you've entered recovery and you come back, you have literally spent your inheritance, you see? So constant police, I've done this, sort it out, I'm sick, you know, I'm drinking cold alcohol, I'm wearing cold beers, I'm wearing a t-shirt, it is at night, I'm not eating properly, pneumonia. So all these things, you are a car accident, all these things you are constantly paying for in the workplace. You are paying me a salary after 30 days, but I've probably done 10 days work at the most, you see? So when you then understand what the problem is, in other words, what is alcoholism first, is when once you know what you are dealing with, then you know what program can assist. Then it becomes very easy. So in all these, the home, the workplace or the school, all these people, the headmaster, the bosses or the parents are trying, or in the case where they're siblings, remember the program we did the last time I was here, where the siblings were trying to talk
to the father,
yes. to whatever. Again, you see their reasoning with the father. If reasoning could work, there would be no addiction counselors. There would be no rehabs. There would be no programs. But an alcoholic is David B. This is not your son, your father, your daughter, whoever. This is an alcoholic who is in a parallel universe whose 24/7 job is how to get money to drink, stay drinking, recover from drinking, and start that cycle again. That is all. Anything an alcoholic does is through that lens.
Right, and that's interesting because these institutions that you talk about, especially I'll look at these examples of companies where these people work. It would normally be, you know, that's his problem or her problem, let him or her deal with it, and they would sort of distance themselves away from it, putting in mind that they've gone, they have suffered losses one way or the other, these institutions. I'm curious to know, what has been the reaction from this PLWD's group when they hear you speak about alcoholism this way? What has been their reaction?
I've had friends calling me, as I said, talking not very nicely, because it's like, basically, to summarize everything they've said, it's like I'm making a joke out of something very serious. You know, I'm being asked something like, do you think this is a lady who's a paraplegic in an accident? Actually, their vehicle was hit by a drunk driver on their way to Mombasa. And so she's paralyzed literally from waist down. And she was asking me, you think it is a joke? One, somebody just drinking stupidly is why I'm in this condition. And she's been like that, I think, like 10, 15 years. And so why are you making a joke of this? Do you think I was choosing? You think I chose? Do you think this is what I wanted for my life? And actually, some have mentioned what you were saying. They've been having a problem getting recognized and the necessary, let me use the word benefits, or the correct word is services, you see? So again, how many alcoholics are there? If we are saying 10 to 15% of the population, This is a huge number, which you then want to add. For example, one asked me, so you want tax relief, okay? You want to park, whatever. You want to have stickers on your vehicles, saying disabled driver, and so on and so forth. So some were using words I cannot use on air.
Yeah.
But in short, they're not happy. But I'm trying to ask them that even amongst themselves, some of their conditions, others have been saying, no, this is not a real disability. For example, you have partial hearing loss, partial sight loss. You had an accident or whatever, your leg got broken, you have a limp, so you're walking with whatever, with the help of a stick, a cane, you know? People have been saying within that community that this does not qualify as a disability. But then I take it back to their own saying that disability is not inability. Okay, however severe it is not inability. So why then would alcoholism, which fits every criteria, if you are to describe disability, and I used a different way to describe it, we're saying disabled. Okay, so you disable my mic right now, the viewer will see me talking, but they won't hear me. Okay, so how do you then reconnect my mic so that the viewer can hear whatever I have to say? How do you reconnect me, my mic, quote unquote, whether I need a wheelchair, whether I need to learn Braille, whether I need a hearing aid, whatever it is I need, so that I can continue, I can be re-abled to continue with the show, which is my life.
Going by what you're saying then, one would argue, why hasn't the NACADA, the organ that has been mandated to deal with drug and alcohol abuse, gone down the route that you are going? Why haven't they done that?
For NACADA, we would actually need 2 programs or 20. NACADA is, even by their name, is National Campaign. Okay? NACADA is supposed to do awareness. Okay? NACADA is supposed to do policy. Okay? Things like rehabs. What are the standards for rehab if somebody wants to open a rehab and things like that? Okay?
But this is a huge shift of policy that you're talking about.
Yes.
So shouldn't they be dealing with a policy like that?
Yes, there's a lot of things they should be dealing with, including correcting their name. It is a campaign against alcohol, and they should add and other, just those 2 and other drugs, not alcohol, drugs, as if they're separate things. And if you check even their posts, they talk about tobacco, alcohol, tobacco, and drugs, as if those are 3 separate things. So there are so many whatevers. Remember, we were talking about we need to dissect these policy issues they have come up with, including changing the drinking age from 18, the legal drinking age from 18 to 21. Cigarettes, for example, if we are still talking about NACADA, tobacco, okay? Tobacco, if used as per prescribed by the manufacturer, should kill you, and it will not kill you immediately. Tobacco kills more people worldwide than all drugs, legal and illegal combined, road crashes, HIV-related, tuberculosis, and I think 2 or 3 others I keep forgetting, combined. And yet it's legal. If it was a policy to be done, one of the first things they should have done is to ban tobacco. You see? But here we go, we are banning shisha, which is tobacco, which is smoked through a hookah or a bomb, as it's called, where the filter is water, which is a safer filter than the traditional filter on a cigarette, but we are going there. But yet, who allowed shisha in the first place, and people set up businesses around shisha, okay?
Yeah.
So people who supply the shisha itself, and shisha is just tobacco. When we talk about kuber is just tobacco, etc. So, you know, sometimes I really wonder, yes, let me leave it there.
And that's interesting, and as you rightly put it, that is something that I will also love to have people from NACADA so that they can get that sort of right of response. But as we wrap this conversation up, Ogot, what would be the biggest barrier to this policy shift that you are proposing as somebody that is a recovering alcoholic, somebody that works very closely with recovering alcoholics? You've seen beforehand just what sort of effects it has, the ripple effects it has from families to communities to societies. What will be the biggest barrier? NACADA side, what is stopping Kenyans from having the same school of thought as yours?
If we do more programs like this through media, be it print, electronic, social media, to get people to see, one, what is alcoholism? One, is a disease. Then explain, just the way we're explaining now, because people need that aha moment. As I said, from employers to families, what is the biggest struggle in schools? Drugs. So why can't it be sorted out? All these over 40 years, these programs have been there for over 60 years. Okay, why can't they be put in place? Why can't they be sorted out? So why can't NACADA go back to awareness? And by the way, when I'm talking about NACADA, it is not in a derogative manner. It is in a way that they need to go back, because we set up NACADA, some of us, with the first coordinator, Joseph Kaguzi, former PC, Nyanza, okay? And they have drifted away from the mandate. You see, and that mandate, why it was there, was to create this education. This awareness is part of prevention, so that somebody understands. For example, when I left rehab, and I was talking to my kids about drugs, and by that time I had 2 kids still in high school. My last 2 kids were still in high school. So when they were being influenced in school to smoke and do all these other things, they were laughing and giving these fellow students a lecture, let's say on tobacco, that our father says the lungs are yours. But when you smoke, this is what's going to happen. And he says he will not pay for hospital, he will not pay for whatever. It's your lungs, it's your life. So they would end up lecturing the other students. So if they had stuck to their mandate, this awareness would have gone all over as it used to go. And then people would then understand and put in this program, and would not be having this uphill battle where we are still, forget about disability, trying to get alcoholism accepted as a disease. Trying to get, and as I said, 100 of us here, you'll have 100 different descriptions.
Yes.
But I come from a point of view that my parents tried everything, including a witch doctor. That was the last straw.
A pastor, I believe, as well.
Yeah?
They took you to a pastor as well?
That is where they started.
Okay.
In church. Then prayers now, and as I jokingly say, I think my parents felt that there are too many people in the church receiving those prayers, so they would get a pastor to come to the house, that this is the guy we told you about. Can you pray for him? And meanwhile, they're asking, how can, we've tried this, we've tried, so somebody comes up with this, they try several times, somebody comes, and finally, somebody suggested witch doctor, when there was nothing else to try. And again, as I always say, which we will talk about another time, is how I eventually got help, how I'm alive even in the first place to get help, was through God. So those prayers must have worked. It's just that we were not seeing them. And even when my dad gave that final prayer, God, you have seen now we've tried to help our son David. I'm reminding you, he's also your son. Please call him to rest so that we can also rest. Amen. And he said now, Everybody, my spouse, my mother, my uncles, everyone, that clan meeting, leave him alone. God is a God who will stop this. Hurry, oh, David, can't you see? David, you'll get answered. God is a God who answers prayers. I've prayed. Let us wait for him to be called to rest so that we can also rest. And I was called slightly over a year later, but to the rehab. So that is why I've been doing the awareness. That is why, though I have several other hats I wear, I do not use those titles. I always use recovering alcoholic.
Okay.
In some places I also use just plain alcoholic, because that is what I am. I'm not different from the guy who's in the den right now, hopefully watching this program.
Yes.
So the barrier is the awareness.
Okay.
We need massive awareness.
Yes. And campaigns as
Yes.
well. All right. So that has been the conversation this morning. You should now make a decision on whether you as an individual will declare alcoholism a disability. And in case you've missed this broadcast and you'd love to rewatch to just get a proper perspective from David Ogot, you can do so across our social media platforms. We wrap it up at that point this morning. David Ogot, a recovering alcoholic, has been with me in studio as we have been taking a look at reasons why alcoholism should be declared a disability. There's still a long way to go. As he said, there needs to be more awareness, more campaigns. There will be questions as well that will rise from persons living with disabilities. And in case you're one of them and you'd love to get in touch with Ogot as well, for him to just have perhaps more explain on this, you can do so through our social media platforms. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a good morning ahead. My name is Cynthia Nanjala.